5-minute video of me talking. Assessment. All right, so let's talk about how you get points in here. This changed a bit since you guys had me last class. In look, but also in how you submit. So I give quizzes, projects, and down below you'll see exams momentarily. We'll get to that in a little bit. Quizzes. They're 10 points each. Now, earlier, I'm going to get out of this page and come back to it. Earlier, I mentioned, where's the schedule page? Here you are. I mentioned you've got this 243 extra practice. So when you click on this, here are the topics from the course. Intro to Prop Stat, Central Tendency, Variability, Relative Position, so forth and so on. Starting on Wednesday, we're going to get into that one right there. We might finish it, we might not, I don't know. But let's say we do. I'll say homework for Intro to Prop and Stat. Okay, I say now next time, we're going to start into Central Tendency. If you click on this Intro to Prop and Stat, what you'll see is, you'll see lots and lots of textbook and also Sean made problems that I've kind of collected over the years. Okay? The textbook problems, the ones that have hyperlinks, if you click on them, link out, hopefully if the network is working, they link out to YouTube videos, there we go, where you'll see me kind of working a problem to, there I am. Hey everybody, yep, there I am, let's just load that down. Stop, you'll see that later if you want to. So anything hyperlinked has a video solution. Anything not hyperlinked is solved in the book. So I took the book and I said, oh, Dean and Nowowski made a nice set of solutions, let me make the rest of them. And I sent an email back, haven't heard from both of them. I said, look, I made YouTube videos. I haven't heard back, I don't know what that means. But regardless, they're there for you. And then my problems down here have solutions down here somewhere, I think. Yep, answers, boom. So what these are try as many or as few as you want to make sure you understand the topics. Every once in a blue moon, I will collect one of these. I'll tell you about that in class. I'll make a quiz out of them. But honestly, these are do as many or as few as you need to do to understand the topic. Sometimes I've had students tell me that they understand the topic perfectly in class. That's totally fine. That's totally fine. But if you don't, that's what these pages exist for. And every one of these guys has a page that goes along with them. Every one has a page. I've tried to make them applicable to you and your lives. So I've tried to use GPA and the lottery, gambling, life insurance, car insurance. I mean, stuff that you would actually care about, not just random crap. But, you know, do as much or as little this as you have to. As far as what you submit for points, that's where the quizzes come in. That's where the quizzes come in. I said sometimes I'll call from the homework, and we'll talk more about that later in the course. But these quizzes, as you look at the schedule page, okay? When you look at the schedule page, you'll notice that there's a quiz linked, at least one quiz every week on the schedule page. They're not all hyperlinked yet. They will be soon, as week to week to week, as I know what topics we're doing, they'll be linked in. Your job is to collect at least 10 quizzes by the end of the term. There'll be way more than 10 posted on the schedule page. In fact, there'll also be some I call in-class quizzes. We'll do them together in class. The ones that are posted on the schedule page are going to be due on their due dates before class starts. So suppose there was a quiz due today, which would be a total bastard move. But suppose there was a quiz due today. It would have to be, hi there, it would have to, come on in, grab a seat. It would have to be submitted via Blackboard before this class started today. Right there, my friend, if you can sneak in, that's...
All right, thanks.
We got it, we got room, we got
All right.
This is why I don't check people in right away, because parking's a bitch. Okay? So does that make sense as far as turning those things in? Have you guys submitted via Blackboard before? Have you ever done an upload for submission through Blackboard where you just, that's all I'm using Blackboard for. You won't be actually doing the quizzes in Blackboard. You're going to be scanning or taking a cell phone picture and uploading a document for Blackboard. You can either write it neatly, you can type it. At the bottom of this page behind me, I've got some hints on typing mathematical symbols if you want to use those. But Blackboard, for out-of-class submissions, you have to submit your work before class starts on that day. So if there was a quiz due, there is a quiz due on Wednesday. So you'll have that bad boy worked on tomorrow or early. Don't worry about it. It won't take you more than a few minutes to do. But you'll have to upload it before class starts on Wednesday, otherwise you can't turn it in. Does that mean you get a 0 on it? No. It means you don't turn that one in. This is why I offer more than 10 quizzes. You can miss a quiz here and there and it doesn't sink you. If you look at a quiz that I posted like week 4 and you're like, is this in English? I don't even understand this. I can't process this at all. You don't have to do it. I have so many other quiz opportunities. You just skip that one and grab some other one. And chances are, especially in 243, I tend to have multiple week quizzes. Like I'll have a topic like central tendency that I'll have 3 different quizzes on, one in week 3, one in week 4, one in week 5. So if you don't like the one in week 3, try the one in week 4. Does that make sense?
So we submit projects and exams the same
exactly the same way. Everything except in-class quizzes are through Blackboard now. And the reason for that is my classes are growing and I'm having a harder time keeping track of those piles of paper. It's only to protect your guys' work. I get frustrated when I can't find a paper like, I gave it to you. I'm like, I know you did. I trust you more than I trust my memory, which is one of the quiz answers for Wednesday. But that's why I started submitting through Blackboard. That way it doesn't get lost. And that way I can also time out the due date. 8:15 on Wednesday, that thing shuts down and the link is gone. You can't submit anymore. So it keeps us honest with that as well. More on that. 10:15. Did I just say 8:15? Yeah. I'm thinking from Math 105. 10:15. If I said 8:15 5 times, I apologize. I'm still doing my Math 105. 10. The time your class starts on the day it's due. We'll call it that. That makes it easier. Thank you. Keep me honest. You can keep me honest. Appreciate that. Does that make sense? So that's what quizzes are. Tell me. Go ahead.
So if we do all the quizzes, is that extra credit?
Sort of. Can I answer that question with some data analysis? That's a fantastic question. Thank you. So I decided, I always make the claim to you guys that doing more quizzes is better than only doing the necessary 10. So what I decided to do was, I decided to analyze this with last term's data. I had 123 students last term. Check this out, check this out. 123 students last term. What I did was I looked at their quiz averages at the end of the term. So I averaged the quizzes they did, not by the number of quizzes, but the average score on their quizzes. This is what I found. This is what I found. Of the 123, roughly 65 of them averaged a 10. So what's that? That's a little bit more than half of them, right? Call it half. Half of them averaged the highest score you could get on a quiz. Slightly less, what is that, 45? So about a third averaged a 9 out of 10, which is 90% of the highest amount you could get on the quizzes. So, in other words, it's kind of acting as extra credit because you're adding those points in, but it's also contributing to your point total. You have to do 10 quizzes, which means you have to submit 100 points of quizzes by the end of the term. If you do more, you just will have submitted more points, maybe 120, 130, and so forth and so on, which means the sum total of points for each student could be different, which takes some getting used to. It takes some getting used to. Some students do exactly 10, call it good, and they're happy. And I got no problem with that. I got no problem with that. But some students, they kind of act like extra credit. I haven't answered your question yet. And here's how they do. Same 123 students, a lot of dots on the screen here. This is a correlation, one of my favorite mathematical ideas. What is a correlation? In your own words. If you know what the word correlation means, what is a correlation?
There's a connection.
Ooh! Connection. I love that.
Relevance from one thing to another.
Oh, good. Relevance between one thing and another. Connection. I love these terms. Yeah. Anybody else?
The comparison of 2 points of data.
And see if there's some kind of a common tie. Yes, 2 points. And you can do it with more than 2. I just did it with 2. Though. Absolutely. So what I did was I looked at the number of quizzes above mandatory. So 0 above mandatory means you did exactly 10. 0. 1 above means you did 11, 12, 13, 14. -3 above means you only did 7. That means you lost 30 points if you only did 7 quizzes. Nobody did fewer than 6, which I guess is a good thing. That person didn't do so well. But so that's the correlation, right? The correlation is this is the class averages at the end of the course, from 0 up to 100, a little bit over 100 for some people, because you can go over 100. More on that as we go through the course. What do you notice about the number of quizzes above mandatory and grades? Do you notice anything? Please tell me what you notice.
If you do too many more, you don't actually do better than if you were to just do the 10.
In particulars, yes. In particulars. Like the person that did 12 over, their average. Now, don't read too much into it. That one data point doesn't tell us too much. And this is what we have to get used to in this class, looking at the average results. I love that point. It almost looks like it does this, and then begins to creep back down again. But look at overridingly what happens as your eyes go left to right.
1 extra, 2 extra actually shows a higher.
Good. Look at the whole data point. I love that point. But look at the entire data set, not just the 1 extra to 2.
grades get better the more you do?
This is what I found. And it fits statistically. We'll learn this skill in Math 243 and Math 244. The averages generally rise as you move left to right. Yes, individual ones can be found to make the exceptions. For example, this poor person right here that did 2 over but averaged a 60. We can always find an outlier data point to disprove a theory. But on average, what is the entire data set showing you? Here's what I noticed. This is the line that kind of describes the behavior. There's noise, and we're going to measure noise in this class too. It's part of my favorite parts of this class is measuring the noise in a data set. Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about noise. What does this equation mean? Y equals 1.7x plus 85.7. Interpret those pieces of that equation for me, if you would. I was pleasantly surprised by this equation.
Once you're getting
Slope! What's the slope? X plus b. Y equals mx plus b. What's b? And what is the y-intercept?
Grade.
That's slope, actually. What's the y-intercept? Where it crosses the y-axis, right? So it's when x equals 0. When x, which is the number of quizzes above mandatory, equals 0, which means you have done 10 quizzes, no extra. On average, the students get 85.7. That's pretty damn good. You do exactly what you got to do. On average, it's 85.7. Now, of course, there's also spread to that, yes? Some of those students got over 100. Some of the students crept below 80. But nobody's getting down here on average, right? Nobody's getting down here. There's wiggle room around that 85.7 for sure. Now, this is the part that excited me, the 1.7. Interpret that from the grade, if you will, of that little tilt. Interpret that 1.7.
Well, it's above 1, so it's getting better.
It's above 1? Well, not that it's above 1, but it's what kind of number? It's a positive number. Even if it was 0.9, it'd still be getting better. But it's a positive 1.7, which means on average, with every additional quiz a student does, their average goes up by 1.7 points. This is an average! Because as a couple of you have already astutely noted, some of the quizzes go down as they do more. But on average, if you look at the entire data set, that's what happens. And that's all I can speak. I can't speak for you individually. I gotta speak in terms of averages. So hopefully that's a long-winded answer to your question, my friend. But they don't act like extra, they're not extra credit, but they kind of act like extra credit. Is that fair? It was a great question, and you asked it at the perfect time, because you're about to open this anyway. But it was just the this was data analysis I was so stoked to do, because I always told you guys this, because I knew it was true in the back of my mind, but seeing the numbers, I'm like, this is even cooler. Fair? Good. Great question. So they're not extra credit in the sense of extra credit. They're extra credit in that they do, when you submit a quiz, whether in class, in paper, or via Blackboard, out of class, you're agreeing to increase your point total by 10 points. But as you saw 2 slides back, on average, you're also increasing the numerator of your fraction by 10 points, or at least 9 and 10, the vast majority, which is a pretty sweet thing overall. Cool? Awesome, awesome, great question, fantastic. I wanted to have the data to back it up. I always say it, I knew it was true, but I wanted to be better than most media news sources, so I wanted to actually show you the numbers that I crunched. And we'll learn more about that too as we go through it. Fair? So out-of-class quizzes get submitted how? Via Blackboard, absolutely. When? Before class. Before class is due. I'm gonna screw up if I say the number. So I'm just gonna say before class, the day something's due. So there's one due Wednesday, yes?
Yes.
But are you gonna turn it in?
Before then.
Before 10:15 on Wednesday. Excellent. 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 You got the hang of it. In-class quizzes are gonna be done? That's a stupid question. In class, you're gonna submit them how? Old school, you're going to hand me papers. A lot of times you'll work together on those. You'll work in groups of 2 and 3. You'll have all your names on top. You'll all get the same grade on those. Otherwise, the out-of-class quizzes that you're submitting, make sure you're submitting your own work. Type it up yourself or write it up yourself. The in-class quizzes you'll most likely be doing together. I like putting you guys together in class. The out-of-class quizzes, I just want to avoid the temptation of all of you working together and submitting one thing. I want you to all actually do the individual assessments. Work together, please. For all of this, work together. Work with friends, work with tutors, work with me if you can find me in office hours. Definitely work together. Trade emails today. I want you doing that. Like I said before, I hate the idea of locking you guys into a room like this one for 2 hours, making you do an exam. That just makes my heart cry. All right? So do the stuff outside of class, but just submit your own work. Cool so far? Please.
Do we get to play craps again?
Not craps. We're going to play, hang on.
Roulette.
We never analyzed roulette in 105, did we? We meant to bring that back, because that was on the block and I never got to it. Oh,
I
crap.
have a roulette.
See, I'm blanking right now. I'm blanking. I know we're going to be dealing with, a big chunk is my chicken flock, which is different than gambling, but it's actually keeping, buying chickens is like gambling. You go to the store, you grab a baby chicken, and they tell you it's a girl. But it might not be a girl. So it's like rolling a die. So we're going to be playing chickens, but there's definitely, I'm drawing a blank right now. There is gambling involved in the course, I promise. Let's get through these last two little bits and then take 5 to get you guys out of this room. I want to kind of keep it consistent here. So quizzes are the weirdest. Everybody got the quizzes? Basic working knowledge. You'll understand them more as the term goes on. Projects, these guys are standalones. For example, your first 2 projects are probability projects. Now, usually you have me in Math 105. I already had an introduction to this with the gambling, with craps and with other things. You already kind of have a working knowledge of that. I'm assuming that most of you didn't take Math 105. Is that a correct assumption? Probably, okay? So the idea is let's learn about probability from the ground up. Let me also restart.